Okay, you ready? We're going live. 3,
Okay.
2, hold on. Okay, you're live.
Hi, everybody. It's Michelle from the Bead Gallery. And I'm here live to show you today how to do a double Leilani bracelet. That looks like this over here. Okay, so this is one of our basic bead weaving designs. And we have a flyer from many, many years ago that goes over the basics of how to make this bracelet. And we're going to offer to throw it in to every purchase that you make if you purchase the supplies for this Leilani bracelet sometime in the very near future. So it's just a little flyer and it's a basic instructional on how to get started with the technique that I will show you how to do today. The flyer shows you how to do a single Leilani bracelet, which is just one strip. And for today's live, I'm going to show you how to do the double wide version. So it looks like this. So it's like a really nice woven piece made out of crystal and seed beads. So in this project, we're going to be using 4mm bicone crystals. Now we're going to be using Preciosa crystals, which is a Czech brand of crystal. Okay, so it's not the Swarovski brand, but the quality is really good on these Preciosa crystals. They've probably been in business for a good number of years, so their quality is super good. And we like them a lot. You'll see in the sample that I'm going to finish off for you today the nice range of colors that you can find in that crystal. And then we're going to be using 11O seed beads and some 0.010 diameter Beadalon steel beading cable. It's very thin, the very fine one. Okay. So I'm going to start off a different sample just to show you how to start off the bracelet, and then I'm going to finish with a bracelet that I already have in progress. That's almost done. Okay, so these actually in this, can I get the screen on the map, please? These are Swarovski crystals. Okay, so we do have both to offer you on our website. We actually sold Swarovski crystals for several years until just recently, and we're kind of tapering down and transitioning to another brand of Czech crystal. But these are Swarovski here. We do have a few palettes on our website still available. You know, Swarovski crystal palettes. Those have 72 crystals in each palette. They're about, you know, they're online. Check out our website, thebeadgallery.com. Okay, so I'm going to start off with these, and we're going to be using some 11O seed beads here. This is the Miyuki Duracoat galvanized seed bead. We love these because it has a really nice bright metallic finish, and it's been treated in a way so that, you know, originally the old school galvanized finishes, they were very pretty, but the metallic coating rubbed off really relatively quickly, especially under heavy wear. These newer styles of coatings are purported to be a lot more durable, and actually we've used them quite a bit in our projects, and I don't see a lot of wear going on the way the old school galvanized used to wear off, just like if you rubbed it even just a little, then it'd start coming off, and that was always a sad day. But we're going to be using our 11O metallic Thai silver 11O Duracoats, okay, to do this project. And so I have my 0.010 diameter Beadalon steel beading cable. This is a very fine diameter because we're going to be weaving, so we're going to be going into beads multiple times rather than just straight stringing and going into it one time. So we do want to use a little bit of a thinner cable to do the project. Okay, and I have some bead stoppers here. These come in handy when we're starting off our project. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I have 4 pieces of the beading cable to start with. These are about 18 inches in length each. So you're starting with about 6 feet of beading cable to do a double wide project. Okay, first I'm going to just get 2 of the cables, and I'm going to pinch them off about 3 inches from one end using 2 of my mini bead stoppers. These are the handiest things ever, and now they're available in the super cute bubblegum pink color, which we love so much.
Love it.
Love it so much, yes.
So
And these
cute.
are also available on our website in quantities of 2 pieces or 10. I would totally get the 10 because they are super handy. Okay, so that's my bubblegum pink bead stoppers. About 3 inches from one of the ends on 2 pieces. Okay. And I don't like to use one stopper and clip the 2 ends together because it gets a little wonky and it's, you know, hard to control. So I like them to be separate at first, like this. Okay, I'm going to refer to our flyer just to see how it gets started. I don't know if you can see it, but it says, cut my 2 strands of beading cable. We're going to tape them or use a bead stopper. Okay, on each cable we're going to string a 4mm bead. That's a good idea. And then we're going to cross through a seed bead. So I'm going to pour out some seed beads. Put that right in the middle. Okay, and so we're going to string a 4mm bead on each string. Okay. So we're going to go like this, and this is starting the first pass. And we're going to cross our threads through the seed bead. So when we cross our threads through a seed bead, you want to enter and exit the bead in opposite directions. Okay, so you make like a little X with the threads. And so one thread's going this way and the other thread's going this way through the seed bead right there. Okay. And then we're just going to pull and slide everything down like so. Next step, we're going to string a 4mm bead on each thread and then a seed bead on each side. Sure. I'll move that.
And if it's not, then I can change it again.
All right. I need my crystals back. Thank you. Okay.
It might show up a little bit better.
All right. So I have a 4mm bead and a seed bead on each side. Then I need one more 4mm bead on each side. Okay. So this is a total of 3 beads right now I'm stringing on each thread. Like so. And then I'm going to cross my threads through a seed bead. Okay, and this is the steps that we repeat over and over until this strip that we're building is going to be long enough to make a bracelet. Okay, so this is what it looks like right now. As you can see, I sort of have a flower going on, and I have half a flower here. So I'm going to finish off the second half of my second flower. So I'm going to string on 2 4mm beads. So one on each side, then a seed bead. Let's see. Oh, hi, I see Robin. Hi, and Shirley, thanks for joining me today. Okay, and then I'm going to string on another 4mm bead on each thread. So, and then I'm going to cross my threads through a seed bead. Okay, so again, I strung 3 beads on each thread, a 4mm bead, then a seed bead, then a 4mm bead on each thread, and then I'm going to cross my threads through a seed bead. Okay, so basically we're building like a little ladder with our seed beads and our crystals, or like a nice strip. And you can arrange the colors in any kind of order that you want. I happen to be doing it in like a flower pattern like this. You can do stripes, so if you keep all one color crystal on one side and all a different color on another side, you'll eventually get kind of a stripy look. You can do like diagonal stripes. You can fool around with the pattern of colors in this project very easily once you see how it's built. Okay, so I'm going to do maybe one more repeat, and then I'm going to show you how to do a second pass to make this wider. These little watercolor dishes are like the handiest thing ever. We also have, we don't sell these on our website, but we have these little triangle trays that are really handy for separating your beads. You can check those out online as well. It's kind of nice to keep your different colors separated like that rather than scattered all over the table. Okay, there you go. You need to zoom. Okay. All right. Go one more. Should we bring the table up higher?
Oh, we could do that too. Let me try.
Okay. Let me get this one done and I will move out of the way.
Okay, so then leave it there so you can see how close you are.
Okay. There you go. And I'll bring up the project so you can see how it looks.
I'm going to zoom so that your hands are going to be in focus. Or you can leave this part in focus and then you can just let it fall. There.
Okay. There you go. So we kind of rearranged a little bit. So this is how my project is being built. Ooh, out of focus there. There we go. Okay. So this is what it looks like. And notice when I'm pulling my threads tight and pulling all the slack out of my piece, my threads are going to the side, to the sides like this, because the whole of the bead is going sideways like that. Okay, so I'm going to do one more repeat if I can get, oh, there we go.
I'm going to take this down so then it stays level.
Okay. All right.
There we go.
Okay. One more time. So now I'm going to string on a 4mm bead on each side. Now my hands look really big on the screen. Okay. There we go. And then I'm going to pick up one more color. Okay, and again we have 3 beads on each side, on each thread. Okay, and then we're going to cross our threads through a seed bead. There you go. So this is like the most basic bead weaving pattern that we have. Just a simple strip you can make, and it looks really cute just like this as a single wide or a single pass bracelet. But now I'm going to move on and show you how cute this is as a widened version. Okay. Sadly, I'm going to have to untape this from my work surface. And now I'm going to move my 2 threads to a single stopper here. It was just hard to do it when you start your weaving because the 2 ends want to spread apart. But now I just want to hold everything in place. So now you can use a single stopper on the threads like this. Okay. I'm going to put this on this side just to kind of hold that in place as well. Just pinch those off like that. So you can see my woven strip here. Okay. And here's my other 2 bead stoppers. To build a second pass, you're going to want to finish this whole thing and make it the length that you want, your finished length basically, before moving on to the second strip, because it's hard to, you know, do 2 passes at the same time. So we're going to pinch, again, about 3 to 4 inches from the end. Okay, and then we're going to work on the long ends. We're going to do exactly the same thing that we did to start off the first pass. So we're going to string on 2 4mm beads. And this is a 6-color pattern that I'm doing, and when I'm doing the flowers, I'm offsetting the second pass by 3 colors. So if you look over here, this is the, oops, I lied. This is the color that I started with on this side. So I'm going to start with this color here, directly across my dish. And that's 3 colors in. Okay. So I'm just going to string on 2 of these, like this, and cross through. You can totally do this pattern in a single color, you know. You can do 2 colors. So the sample that I showed you first, this one here, is done with just 2 different colors here. So it's just purple and pink, and then it's offset, and then you go with pink and purple. Okay, so that's a 2-color pattern. You can do a solid color pattern. That's really quite stunning as well. You can do as many colors as you want. Okay, so what I did was string a 4mm bead on each side and cross through a crystal, exactly the same that we did in the beginning of this side. Okay, the only difference is going to be this side here. This thread is going to share seed beads with this edge of my piece. This edge. Whoops. This side. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to string on 1 4mm crystal, and instead of stringing a seed bead, I'm going to go through the first seed bead that is on this edge. Okay, that is in lieu of stringing on a seed bead.
So when you're making a double row bracelet, you actually don't need twice as many seed beads.
No, you need about 50% more seed beads.
Nice.
Because they're sharing. Okay, and then I'm going to string on this side, you do need to string a crystal, and then a seed bead, and then a crystal. Okay, so we're only sharing 1 seed bead. Okay, that's, and then you're going to cross your threads through a seed bead. And you see now how it's kind of stuck together, yeah, because they're sharing a seed bead on the edge. So to do that again, I'm going to string on a crystal or a 4mm bead, and then I'm going to go through the seed bead, the next seed bead that's on the edge of the piece. Sometimes it helps to lift up your work and bend it right at the seed bead you want to go through, because that kind of clears the hole and makes it easier to feed your cable through there. And then I'm going to do another crystal. We're going to do the same thing on this edge that is not shared, so we're going to string on a crystal, a seed bead, and then another crystal. And then we're going to cross our threads through a seed bead. Then I'll lay everything flat and you can see what it looks like. It's a little bit confusing right now because there's so many threads all over the place. Go. So you can see how my piece is getting wider and building on the first strip that you made. Okay, I'll do one more and then I'm going to go into how to finish off your bracelet. Okay. So, okay. Then I have to bring this up and kind of bend it at the seed bead where I want my thread to go through. You can definitely size your beads up to like 6 millimeter if you're more comfortable handling that. You do probably want to also size up your seed bead, so proportionally. So if you're going to use a 6.0 crystal, a size 6 millimeter crystal, you'll probably want to use a size 8.0 seed bead, just so it's a little bit more proportional, and it might not be so cramped. Yeah. Okay. So do one more, and then I will show you how to finish this off. So you want to make sure that after every time you cross through a seed bead, you kind of pull all the slack out of the piece. There's going to be a little bit of spring back when you let go. And don't worry about that, because once you move on to the next ring of beads, it'll stay tight. Okay? Okay, so this is how you make it wider. And now I'm going to bring a different piece into my camera so you can see how to finish it off. Okay, I'm going to scooch this over. Alrighty. Okay, so this is done with one of the kits that we have online. You actually need to buy 2 pallets worth, because this project here took about 144 crystals. And our crystal palettes online have 72, so you'll need twice the number if you want to do a double wide version like this. Okay, so you can see I have my crystals strung on the ends. I'm going to actually have to take a couple of pieces off, and I'll show you why in just a minute. I think I'm going to work with the shorter end right now. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to finish it off in a 2-strand clasp like this, and we're going to be using some cable protectors and 2x2 twisted crimps. We love the twisted crimps because it's got a little ridge on the inside, so it helps to pinch your threads a little bit tighter. It's a little bit more secure. Okay.
So we have a question, Michelle.
Yes.
Pikake 17 says, so if you wanted to use 3mm crystals, do you use 15.0
Yes.
seed beads?
You can, but you can actually use 11.0.
So if you can repeat the question to the audience and then let them know.
Oh, okay. So I had a question about sizing the beads down proportionally, and they were asking if you use 3mm crystals, do you use 15.0 seed beads? And the answer to that is, yeah, I probably would use 15.0 seed beads, but if you don't mind the seed beads having a little more prominence, you can use size 11s, especially if it's easier to do your crossing through of the thread. Sometimes a little bit hard to get 2 pieces of thread into a 15.0. It's just that in that case, the seed beads will be more noticeable because they'll be closer in size to the crystals. But the seed beads being closer in size to the crystal is probably better than them being way, way smaller. Okay, because the seed beads put spaces between the crystals and kind of help spread out everything. So if your seed beads are really, really teeny and you're trying to use a big crystal, I think it'll get really crowded and you'll probably get the beads won't sit nicely. But if you're using a seed bead that's close to the size of your crystal, it'll just be more noticeably seed beady. You could actually do this pattern with all seed beads if you wanted to. It'll give you a different look than this kind of defined flower pattern, but the weave will be the same and the effect might be the same too. So you can always try just all seed beads if you wanted. It doesn't have to be crystals. You can also use round beads. So we've done this with like little round Swarovski pearls or glass pearls. You could even use freshwater pearls, but the sizes sometimes vary a little bit and the shapes, they're not perfectly round. And so you'll have like a little bit of lumpiness or, irregularity to the pattern. But you can. This kind of bead weaving is actually very flexible. in terms of the kinds of beads that you can use. It's all about proportion and making sure that everything fits together kind of nicely. Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, this is how we started off the project, but I personally want to taper my ends into 2 ends, because right now I have 4 ends. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the first 2 crystals that we have. If you had more crystals, you can actually string more on, but it's easier for me to just take them off because I don't have extra crystals floating around. And instead of crossing through this first seed bead, I'm going to take it off and turn it around and have my 2 threads go through the seed bead together in the same direction. Okay. And the reason for that is because we want to taper the ends, and we want both ends running in the same direction through the bead and then through the crimp that's going to follow very shortly. Okay. So, if you want, you can actually do the crimping now, but I want to put a crystal on each side because I kind of like that look. So I'm going to string the crystal, and both of the threads are going through the crystal in the same direction. Okay, so they're going together, as opposed to the rest of the bracelet when they were going in opposite directions through the beads. Okay. Then I'm going to string on a crimp. So my 2x2 twisted crimp. And it's off, again, it's going to go through the bead, through the threads are going to go through the crimp bead in the same direction. Okay, and then I'm going to string on my cable protector. Got a lot of things going on here. Okay, I really like these cable protectors. They're a good way of making sure that you do a proper size loop. You know, not pulling your loop too tight around the loop of the clasp. Yeah. Okay, so I have my thread going through my cable protector now. Then don't forget to string on the clasp. Like this. Okay, gotta go back through the crimp and possibly through the crystal if I can. So we just did a whole thing, like a whole circuit, like that. Okay, I'm going to squeeze the 2 legs of the wire protector closer together, and I'm going to pull all the slack out as much as I can from the piece. Okay, and if it means pulling 1 string at a time, please do so. Okay, like this. And you don't want any gaps or anything, so make sure you pull the slack out of the piece. So, okay, I think that's looking pretty good. And then you want to get your chain nose plier, and we're going to squish our 2x2 twisted crimp. So I've got a chain nose plier here. I'll pick up my piece, and I'm going to kind of put some tension between the thread that I'm holding here, the tail of the thread, and my clasp here, so that it doesn't like pull loose or anything. And I'm going to cover as much of the crimp as I can with my chain nose plier, and then just give it a squeeze. Usually the first side, or at least the first crimp, is probably the most tricky to do because everything wants to go everywhere. Okay, you want to make sure that it's nice and squished. Like that. And I'm just going to trim away my excess thread right now so it doesn't get all confusing when I do the second crimp. So.
What kind of cutter do you like to cut the beading cable with?
It probably would pain our friend Jason to let him know that I love to use my Lindstrom cutters.
Me too.
To cut
Me
this
too.
kind of beading cable. You know, he doesn't like it because the beading cable is steel, which is just as hard or even harder than the cutter blades. So, you know, he would not recommend doing that. But I've been doing it for 20 years. And
Ditto.
I've only had to resharpen my blades once in 20 years. So, you know, I would say
give them the
I
tip.
like the best cut.
Do not use the tip.
Oh, yeah.
Do not use
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tip.
Okay, so, and one way you can extend the life of your cutters is by not using the very tip to do what I just did. You know, try to go in farther down the blade if possible. So what I like to do is, and I'll show you when I do the second side, is I'll pull the thread away from the work and I'll slide my cutter in and I'll try to cut with the middle of the blade or lower. Okay, let's see if I actually do that. All right, because I think I do, but sometimes, you know, what you think you're doing and what you're actually doing is not the same thing. So, again, I'm going to take off the last two crystals and I'm going to flip the seed bead so that the threads go through in the same direction. Like this. So you're going to string the seed bead in the same direction on the threads. Okay. And we're going to do this all over again. We're going to string on the last crystal, just one. Then our crimp. So you need 4 crimps and 4 wire protectors for this project. But 1 2-stranded clasp. If you were very clever, you could also taper into a single strand clasp, except that takes a lot more thought. This is much easier, and we do sell these 2-stranded clasps on our website. They are very economically priced for the beginner. You can also use end bars to taper your pieces. The only problem with end bars is it tends to add a lot of length to the ends of your bracelets. I find them more handy for necklaces, so if you want to do like a choker, like a dog collar style choker with this weaving pattern, you can. And then you can use end bars for the end to go from a 2-stranded ending to a single strand clasp. Okay, so I have my cable protector on there. Now I need to hook on my clasp before I talk too much and forget. Okay, and then I gotta go back through my crimp and do this whole thing again. Okay. All right, and keep in mind, it's always better that you have too much string than not enough string, because it's very hard to do crimping with a very short thread end. So don't be too stingy. I'm borderline stingy here. It's going a little bit slower than I like.
Hey, Michelle, when you're working on that, can you tell us why you prefer beading cable over fishing line?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, I don't use a lot of fishing line for these kind of weaving projects. We actually only use fishing line for like our heartstrings project that we did. You can probably go with fishing line. It's just that I don't like crimping it, and crimping to finish off these projects is probably the easiest way to end it. You can probably also use like a fire line if that's what you have at home. But I kind of like how easy it is to start and finish off these projects with the beading cable. Okay. I have seen woven patterns though done in fishing line too. So I mean, if that's all you have, you know, please just make do with what you have and see if you like the technique in the first place. But I do like the durability of the beading cable and how easy it is to just crimp to finish. Okay, that's my ending here. I think that's kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm just gonna see, I'm gonna pull my thread away from the piece, and I'm gonna slide in with my cutter. And see how I'm not using the tip of the cutter to cut, I'm using the middle or closer to the base, like this.
I also noticed you flipped your cutter when you went in to cut. Can you tell us why?
Okay, so when you turn the cutter, it's because I want the flat side of the cutter, that's this side rather than the beveled side, that's the side that dips in, to be touching my work, because that's the end that will give you the flush cut, and that's the end that you can really control and get close up against your beadwork. It's hard to do this on the beveled edge. Okay, so that's the ending on this side. Okay, and again, there's multiple ways of ending this. You could probably taper it into a single. That takes a little bit too much brain power for me today. So I'm going to do the second side and show you how long this comes out to. Again, ooh, I think I'm going to do the left side first. And so the only tricky thing about this particular clasp is you do have to make sure that when you crimp the second side on, it's that the two ends line up so you don't get like a twisted piece, because this only goes in one way. Okay, so I'm going to leave the two ends together so that I can match up the ends nicely here for as long as possible. Okay, so again, we're going to take off the last crystals that we strung and flip the seed bead. You could actually get a 4-stranded clasp too and just crimp each end directly into the loops if you have that at home instead. It's just that then you'll be crimping just a single piece of the really fine beading cable. Then you could use probably smaller crimps, like 1x1s, to do the finishing. Okay, so stringing on my clasp, my crimp. There you go. My twisted crimp here, my wire protector. Kara, that's a good question. She's asking what shape freshwater pearl works best for this project, and I'm definitely going to say as closer to round as you can get. You know, something that is more regular and not like really long width-wise, because then it'll be hard to get the beads to sit nicely. You could also do it with rice-shaped pearls. So anything that is probably round or skinnier than it is wide, because it's the width that kind of gets everything in the way. Okay, good question. So round or rice is good. Yes, Peacock 17. We do have about, I don't know, how many color kits do we have online? Maybe
10?
10, maybe a dozen. They're not all in the same place, but we have the Swarovski crystal palettes online, and this is our one check crystal palette. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of line up my edge before I string on my clasp. So I make sure I go into the correct loop, because there is a correct loop and there is a not correct loop. I also want to go in the correct way, which is down. All right. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to hook into there like so. Then I'm going to go back through my piece, back through my crimp and one of my crystals. And I'm going to pull the slack out. Now that I have the two ends lined up nicely, I can open that up so the end of my bracelet is not fixed to the beginning of it. Okay. And I'm going to pull the slack out of the ends like this. And make sure that there's no gaps. And again, I'm going to hold on to the end of the clasp like this and put tension by holding on to this tail like so that it keeps all the slack pulled out of the piece, meaning I don't have any loose threads in my bracelet. Then again, I'm going to cover as much of the crimp as I can and just give it a squeeze. And I'm flipping my my piece and squeezing both edges of my crimp like that, because you want to make sure that both edges are squished flat. Okay, and I'm going to again show you how to do the cutting of the tails. Pull it at a perpendicular angle to your piece, and then slide the cutter in and just trim. And again, you can use closer to the base of the cutter. Blurry. It wants to focus on my hand. Okay, just trust me, I was right up against the bead right there with the edge of the cutter. Okay, and I'm going to do the last side, and then my bracelet will be finished. Okay.
While you work on the last side, I have a trick question for you. Are you ready?
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you do if you only have a single strand toggle clasp and you want to make this bracelet?
Okay, so like I said, you can taper your ends down so that all 4 strands will go into your crimp, because the crimps are big enough so it can accommodate 4 strands of this .010 beading cable doubled through. So what you'll have to do is you'll start to probably work from this end here, and then you're going to like bring all of the crystals in this way. So you're going to put a crystal in each of this, and then have your 2 middle strands go through a single bead like that, probably something to that effect. So you know, there is a way to taper the ends. You'll probably have to mess around with it a bit because I've not really done that. I just use a 2-strand clasp. It's so much easier.
Yeah, if you guys want to see us do something like that, comment in this video and we'll come back around and check after, you know, a couple weeks.
I will experiment with it.
Yeah, we can always come back with another video, like a premium video to show you how to accommodate that one situation.
Or at least we can just try it and see if it really works.
Yeah.
It does. I've seen it happen. It's just I haven't done it myself because I like to do things a little bit easier, and so 2-stranded clasps are not that hard to get.
So Michelle, Sandy says she made these with single strand Swarovski a long time ago, and this double strand is beautiful.
It is. It is. The more crystals, the better, I think.
Yeah.
You
Triple
can
wide.
never have enough sparkle. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back down through my crimp and a crystal, and then I'm going to pull the slack out of my piece, and then crimp, and then we're done. Okay. I hope everybody is enjoying watching my somewhat instructional live video. This is actually really fun to do. And the nice thing about bead weaving is very relaxing. You know, it's it's repetitive and regular. So you don't have to do a lot of problem solving, you know, with this, or like figuring out. You just follow the pattern as best you can. Okay.
Super meditative, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So I pulled all the slack out of my piece, and I'm going to hook. I'm holding on to the tail here while I'm holding on to the clasp here, putting tension all along there so that everything's nice and tight. Again, I'm covering as much of the crimp as I can with my chain nose plier. Then I'm going to turn over and squeeze both edges of my crimp. You can do this somewhat repeatedly. Just don't squeeze so hard you cut through the threads, which is harder because there's 2. And then I'm going to get in there with my cutter and cut really close with not the tip. And I believe that this is done. So this is what the finished double wide Leilani bracelet looks like on the end. Let's see if it fits around my wrist. I'm not sure if it does. So this kind of style of clasp is really cool. It's like a slide style. There also is a sterling silver version if you want that has a magnet that makes it easier to actually put on. This one's tricky. So you gotta kind of hold it like this. Whoops. And just push. Once it's on good. Okay, it's just getting it on. It's a little bit tricky, but here you go. So this is the double wide Leilani bracelet. I think it's so cute, and it just fits me. I'm so happy. So again, this was two crystal palettes worth, about 144 crystals. My wrist is, you know, like 6 3/4 inches or so. So, you know, kind of size up or down from there depending on your wrist size. You probably need anywhere from like 130 to 150 crystals for this kind of pattern here. You can also, use end bars if you don't want to put more crystals. End bars are like, it has like 2 loops on one end and a single loop on the other. Those kinds of endings add a lot of length to the piece. This style of clasp does not. This one is one of the most compact designs that we have that add very little length, which is mostly desirable when it comes to these kind of bracelet patterns, because you don't want a whole bunch of clasp going on over here and then only a small woven section. But if you're short on crystals, that might be the way to go. Okay. So, is that it for today, Miss Jamie?
Well, I brought a couple samples for you to show with the pearl look. and with the
I will.
seed bead look. And then I brought a color palette out in like some periwinkles. So if you want to just talk to them like how to pick 3 colors, 4 colors, 5
Okay.
colors, I would love to know so that
Right.
people, it's a nice way to share.
These are some other bead weaving designs. So it's not exactly the same pattern. Okay, this one is just 11 seed beads. That's it. So it does the same bead on each side, cross through a bead kind of technique, but there's less beads on each side. It's just like a single bead. Okay, so you can do it with 11's. You can do it with, this is a combination of 4mm beads and size 13 Charlottes. So this pattern is slightly different. I think we called it Petite Princess.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of oh no, this one's like a combination of bead weaving. So we have like a little section of just seed beads here before moving on to the next section. So instead of just crossing through a seed bead, after you cross through a seed bead, you're going to string a seed bead on each side and then cross through another seed bead. So you have this little 4 bead section. And then you're going to go with your 3 bead sides of bigger bead, smaller bead, then bigger bead, then cross through a seed bead. So once you start to do these kinds of bead weaving patterns, you can see all the variations that you can do with the beads. So you can like customize your design if you like to spread out the sections of your crystals more. You see how this one, the crystals are all like stuck together. This one, they're kind of separated by a little section of seed beads here. That's a cute design too. And then you can also do, this is a bead weaving pattern as well. It's called the Curvy Bracelet. That one's really cute. We did this with Swarovski crystal pearls. We did it with 4mm and 3mm. As you can see, like all the bead weaving is stringing beads on each side or something. And then you're crossing through a bead. That's how you get the woven pattern. It's just the beads that you put on the sides and the beads that you cross through will give you various looks. But the technique is all the same. Amazingly, it's all the same. You can get so much variation with just one idea of stringing some beads on the thread, on 2 threads, and then crossing your threads through a bead to make like little ladders of beads here. That's probably the easiest way to think of them. And a lot of these designs, pretty much all of them, you can actually make wider as well, just by sharing something on the sides, by sharing a common bead. So like if you wanted to widen this style here, you would probably go through the pearl instead of going through a seed bead. So that would be your shared bead if you wanted to make this wider than it is. And we've done that before. And even like something like this one here, you would probably share this little seed bead on each side to make a wider version of this bracelet. So basically, it's the bead that's in the middle that you would share to make pieces wider. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, so Jamie brought some crystals, and I can talk about how to pick colors and all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. So we have, like, say, 4 different colors of crystals. So you can do a similar kind of design to this 2-colored design, but you would just do an ABCD pattern, and then you could probably flip it to do BCBA on the second pass, and then you would get, kind of the same flowery design. Again, you can do it in stripes. So you can do color A on one side, then color B on another side, so you'll have like a little strips of color, and then color C would be your next side, and color D would be your 4th edge, so you'll have like a stripey kind of look, which is kind of cute too. Now, what do we have here? So, if you're starting off, like picking colors within the same kind of color family makes it easy to come out with something that's really cute. And in this case, these are like periwinkle and aqua colored beads. And these are matte AB finished crystals, which are really cool. Don't see those every day. So Swarovski, many years ago, came out with a matte AB line, which is kind of funny because that's like not what their crystals are. When you think of Swarovski crystals, you think, ooh, super sparkly. And then they did their matte line, and it's like, wow, those are not sparkly. But they're kind of cute. They have a velvety finish. Like this. You know. So any kind of pattern that uses these, like you can do like little stripes of color. And when you lay out your design, you can sort of just line them up like this, and in the way that they would kind of fall next to each other. Like that. And then you think, oh, that's kind of cute. I don't know about putting the super sparkly one in here. Oh, that is cute though, because it has lots of different colors. So you could do like a striped pattern like that. You could also do a diagonal stripe pattern. So what you do to do that is you're going to offset your colors just a little bit. Like this. And I'm going to arrange it so you can kind of see the progression.
Twinkling blossoms too, because this is one of my favorites.
Okay.
I love that. Find out what they think.
Okay. Hold on, let me just arrange this. Okay. So if you wanted to do like a diagonal stripe pattern, which is really cute, the way you would arrange your crystals, or the way you would string them, is instead of the same color on each string, you're going to put, like, say, color A on one and color B on the other, and then you're going to cross through a crystal, seed bead, across through a seed bead. Then you're going to put color C, and then here's your A again, and cross through. So you're going to get like a diagonal kind of design as you work, instead of a four color, like a 4-bead flower, like this. Okay, so that's a cute pattern as well. And then, I'm sorry, this is the, what is this thing called?
That was
This
the
is
Twinkling Blossoms.
Twinkling Blossoms.
Double Y.
Okay.
It's so cute. It's so
This is
fairy-like.
a different bead weaving idea as well. The Twinkling Blossoms. Here we go. So it's the same idea of doing the beads on each side and then crossing through a bead, but as you're stringing, instead of a single seed bead between the two 4mm beads, you're going to string 4, and you're going to loop around to make these little picots. That's another bead weaving design that we have, and we have a printed instructional for it. We'll probably get around to doing a video in the near future. So this is a single wide version, and you notice you have the little picots on the edge. You can also do a double wide version and just join on the tip. So the bead on the tip is the shared bead again.
I actually made that one.
Oh, did you now? The
Yeah.
nice thing about this one is, on this side you only need to go through the tip. You don't need to do this whole picot thing again, but you do need to do it on this edge. So it's on this edge, you're just going to kind of string through, and on this edge you have to still do the little picots. That's kind of fun.
Super
then
fun.
you don't have to do it again.
Do you think you can just tell them the difference in the color, how that one is striped, and the other Twinkling Blossoms you did it as individual flowers, and like how different that looks with a 2-color versus the multi?
4-color.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this one is done in the stripe version, where you have a single color on one edge and a second color on the other. So you're going to be stringing pink on one side and purple on the other always, and then crossing through, and then you're going to keep your pinks on the same side and your purples on the same side, and then you get this kind of stripe pattern. They did it so that it's inverted, so that you have a wide purple section in the middle, but that's just keeping it in stripes or rows of color versus the little flowers that we've been doing this whole time. Okay, so you just play with the different orders of the beads and the different kinds of beads, and you know, you get lots of different looks. It's pretty infinite, the amount of looks that you can get from just some crystals and some seed beads. So this one is the Twinkling Blossoms minus the little picos. It's this pattern here.
Petite Princess.
Yep. Petite Princess. And this is a double wide version of it. They look so different. They're all so cute.
Pauline wants to see the closures on each one.
Sure. So this one, there's a ending, how it's tapered with seed beads. Okay, and it's done with the same slide style clasp. This one's gold fill. That one's cute. Okay, this one is a tapered version where they kind of just grabbed everything and started pulling it in towards the middle. So this is a way to taper off into a single strand clasp. That takes some doing though, because basically you taper down, you're going to string on some crystals and string on a bunch of seed beads so that everything can meet in the middle. Like that. There are some other elegant ways of tapering with the crystals and the seed beads as well to keep the kind of the pattern the same. But this is a good idea as well. You just kind of pull it in. Okay, so we do a lot of tapering. This is a single pass. You can end in a single strand clasp. Okay.
Pauline, you asked for it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a hook and eye style. That's really cute. This is a toggle. Single strand toggle.
I brought you a double toggle, a box, a magnet, and a tapered heart.
Okay. Let's see. We have a lobster claw with extender chain. That's really nice because then if you're giving this as a gift, it's kind of nice to wear this more as a fitted bracelet rather than something that's really big and loose. So you can do a single strand clasp and an extender chain, and that way the length is adjustable, which is nice. Okay, that's another way to end it. This is endings of bead weaving bracelets. This one is a magnet clasp. That's really fun and easy to put on and take off because you just pull the ends and it sticks together. And if it were me, I would probably put a safety chain on this magnet clasp here, like this style. Here, because when the magnet pulls off like this, you don't want your bracelet to fall off all the time or get stuck to a shopping cart or something and get lost. So I'm going to stick it together like this. So when you do magnets, we usually recommend you put safety chains on them. And what a safety chain is just a small length of chain, maybe a couple of inches or so, attached to both ends of your bracelet. So if the piece opens up, it won't come completely off your hand and you won't lose your bracelet. It'll still be hanging on there.
We have a YouTube video about that.
Yeah, we do have a video on our YouTube channel, somewhere on this channel, that talks about safety chains, so you can see how we use them and how we put them on. It's really easy, and if you did your bracelet and put a magnet clasp on there, but you didn't put your safety chain, it's so easy to add after the fact, so you can safety chain all of your magnet bracelets from now after the fact.
Retrofit those babies.
Yeah, retrofit them. Okay, and let's see. So we do have several styles of box clasp, multi-strand clasps. This is a 2-strand box. Here we go. So that's like a more of a classic design, almost vintage, you could say. That it's like an older kind of just push type of clasp. Okay, and this one, if you see this pattern, there's like no seed beads in this whatsoever. So these ones, the actual cross through bead was another crystal instead of a seed bead. So you can see the difference in the patterns. They look really similar, but they're all just a little different depending on the look you want. Like if you want all crystals, you can definitely do all crystals. Okay, and this pattern is actually the same as this one, believe it or not. Okay, because all you do is you string a bead on each side and then you cross through a bead. That's all this pattern is. whether you use 11/0 seed beads or 4mm bicones. Okay, it's kind of cool to see how it looks in different beads, yeah? Okay. And so we have a 2-stranded toggle as well here. These are done with 4mm round crystals and 11/0 seed beads. The round crystals are kind of nice. They're a little more comfortable than the edges of the bicones. So if you're going to wear this for a very long time, or you're going to wear it on the tighter side, you know, the round crystals might be the way to go. You can also use fire polish, like 4mm fire polish for these kinds of designs. So if that's what's in your stash, you can definitely try those in this pattern here. Ooh, this is one of my favorites. This is the double wide curvy bracelet.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And it has a really fancy cubic zirconia set clasp here that's multi-strand. So you can see here, this is actually a triple wide curvy bracelet. I actually finished each of the ends into the loops. So there are 6 1x1 crimps on each side. I wanted the look to be very small and very close to the clasp. So I ended each thread individually. And I could because this finding had a lot of places to crimp into, so that made it really handy. All right, so this is my triple wide curvy bracelet with all 6 ends finished individually, and I used our micro crimps to finish it off. Okay, that was a lot of bead weaving in a very short amount of time. So if you guys want to see more, just let us know. I do have a couple of other designs that I do want to share with you that we haven't seen here yet, but the curvy bracelet is one of my favorites, and it's done with a cool combination of chain and crystals and pearls. It's a really fun look, and this one's super blingy and very good for weddings and proms. Okay. All right. And oh, thanks. So if you guys want to see me again doing some more bead weaving, I do have more patterns here that I can go over with you. I think I will. This one's called Sugar Cube, and this one is Sparkle Delight.
That's
So-
like my favorite. Sparkle
You
Delight.
have a lot of favorites.
Yes. No. To make.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite.
Here we go.
I think it's the easiest of all the techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, these are really fun designs, and they're really easy to do.
Look at the bottom one.
Okay.
So you can keep your smiling
There
face
we
on one and your hand on the other.
Okay.
Shirley said thank you. She learned
Oh,
something
yeah.
new.
Thank you, Shirley, for hanging
Pauline
out
said the
with me
triple
today.
wide curvy is beautiful.
It is. I was really happy with that one. So yeah, I just hope that you guys can see that you can do these kinds of bead weaving patterns with all different kinds of beads. I mean, the possibilities are endless. If all you have is seed beads, you can totally do bead weaving with just seed beads. If all you have is crystals, you can totally do it with all crystals. Just the patterns are a little bit different. You do want to play around with them. I do recommend you use this very fine beading cable. Or because we've done designs with Fireline before. Actually, I think the original Sugar Cube was done with Fireline, and it worked for a while, but it did start to cut near the bead tips that we used to finish off the ends. And I haven't had that problem so much with the beading cable. Even though we think of Fireline as being super strong, it does kind of cut, in certain instances. So, that's why we do the beading cable.
Pauline goes, the copper one is interesting. That's the Sparkle Delight. The double wide Sparkle Delight is gorgeous too.
Yeah.
So we'll come back with another one. Try see if anybody has an interest in us putting together a kit because they want us to do it together. And if so, which one did they like? And I'll check the comments.
Jamie wants
Later.
All
I'll check
right,
it later.
so we do have a lot of the crystal palettes already available online. that you can do these basic bead weaving styles with. But if anybody is, yes, please take your crystals out, Renee. If you want to do a specific pattern with us, or you want to see a certain kit for a certain design, whether it's the sugar cube, the sparkle delight, curvy bracelet here, twinkling blossoms, man, I can't remember all the names.
You're doing good.
And or petite princess, I don't know where that went.
It's the one with the pearls on the other side, the
This
pink and
one's-
white
this
one.
Is this one. Okay, so if you guys want to do any of these with me in a future YouTube live, then let me know and comment below which style you'd be interested in. Again, this one is sugar cube, so it's a 2-layer design. The copper one is called Sparkle Delight, and if you like that, we can do a kit for you. This takes 11 metal seed beads, which is kind of cool. And then we have our curvy bracelet, twinkling blossoms, and petite princess. So just let us know which one you like.
Pauline
and we
wants the
can do
copper
a
one as a kit.
kit for you. No problem. Maybe we'll bust that out. I'll go see if we have the seed beads on the wall. Okay, so that's it for me today. I am bead woven out. This
was
is
a
like the
lot.
longest I've ever talked about it in
That was.
probably about 15 years. So I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it. Crystals and seed beads are super fun. And I'm glad you got to join me today. I hope you'll come see me again next time I come on live. I'm not sure when that will be, but it will probably be very soon. Sooner
Yeah.
if you tell me what you want to see. So until next time, thanks for joining me today. And we'll see you later. Happy beading.